Good day everyone. Welcome again to another episode of tax training, and today I will discuss to you the due process and tax audit. I would like to say thank you also to our YouTubers, for those who subscribe to us. For those who have not yet subscribed, please subscribe to our channel, and we promise to bring you more updates in taxation. Okay. So our topic for this episode is about the due process and tax audit. Ano bang gagawin natin at ano ba yung nangyayari pag meron pong tax audit? At ano yung mga dapat natin tandaan at mga dapat po natin gawin, no? Ang i-discuss ko po sa inyo, ito yung Revenue Regulations 18-2013. Ito po yung nag-amend noong Regulations 12-99 na nandoon din po yung mga proseso, no, sa tax audit. Since ito yung nag-amend noong 1999, ito yung i-discuss ko sa inyo noon. But this 18-2013, in-amend ulit ito ng 8-2018, no? So, tingnan po natin itong Revenue Regulations 18-13 kung ano yung proseso po sa tax audit, no? Itong Revenue Regulations na 18-2013, nasabi ko sa inyo, ito yung nag-amend na Revenue Regulations 12-1999. Ano po yung kanyang in-amend? Yung preparation ng Notice of Informal Conference. Kasi doon sa 12-99, sinabi doon na hindi maging final ang assessment notice, and as part of due process, kailangan pagka may tapos na yung audit ng examiner, ito ay gagawa muna ng Notice of Informal Conference sa taxpayer to inform the taxpayer na ito yung nagiging findings para magpo-protest man o hindi yung taxpayer, at least alam niya as part of the due process, no? Itong Notice of Informal Conference under 12-99, tinanggal po ito ng 18-2013, no? Inalis niya, so wala ng Notice of Informal Conference. So, due process requirement in the issuance of deficiency tax assessment. But before that, explain ko muna sa inyo bakit ba nagkaroon ng deficiency tax assessment, no? Ano ba yung proseso na magkaroon ng tax assessment, no? So, ang una pong proseso, ang una pong gagawin ng BIR, magkaroon muna ng issuance ng letters of authority. Ano po yung letter of authority? Ito yung magbibigay ng authority or yung pahintulot o utos dun sa mga examiners with the group supervisor sa mga districts, sa large taxpayers, to conduct an audit and investigations of the tax liability of the taxpayers, no? So, paano ito yung ginagawa? Gumagawa po ng listahan ang district, kaya yung large taxpayers, pinapa-approve po yan sa commissioner, no? Pag na-approve na, ibabalik po yan sa region, i-issue ng letter authority kung sino yung examiner ma-assign at saka sino yung group supervisor, and then itong letter of authority, i-serve po nila ito sa taxpayer within 30 days, no? And then during the service of this letter of authority, nakasama na doon yung first notice, no, for the request for the presentation of books of accounts and records. Na doon na nakadetalye, no, yung doon sa notice na yan. And then after that, given ilang days lang na dapat mag-submit yung taxpayer ng records, based on the records submitted, gagawa na po ng assessment ngayon ng findings ang examiner kung mayroon siyang findings na makikita doon sa mga records po na sinabit ng taxpayer. Halimbawa naman ang taxpayer hindi nag-submit ng records, anong gagawin ng examiner? So yung examiner, i-refer po niya sa legal, no, for the issuance of the subpena. Bakit subpena? Kasi hindi niya matapos yung kaso niya kung hindi magbibigay ng libro ang taxpayer, and also to give chance to the taxpayer to present its books of accounts, no? So nagpadala na ng subpena ang legal, hindi pa rin pumunta yung taxpayers, hindi pa rin nag-present, no? Iko-contempt of court na ngayon itong taxpayer, yung case dadalhin na po sa fiscal, file na ng case ng contempt of court ang taxpayer, at may kulong na yon, no? May kulong na dahil hindi siya nag-present ng books of accounts. Ito naman docket of the case, ibabalik po yun sa examiner at i-assess na based on best evidence obtainable. So, anong best evidence obtainable at this time? yun po yung income tax return, yung mga BAR returns na nilagay doon ng examiner. Or, kukuha ang examiner ng mga third-party information coming from the supplier, coming from the customer ng taxpayer, at doon po, yun po yung gagamitin niyang basihan para ma-assess na at mabigyan ng deficiency assessment kung may mga kulang o hindi pa nabayaran yung taxpayer. No? So after that, na nakapag-investigate na yung examiner, ano yung gagawin niya? So ano yung requirement? No? So may requirement po ang BAR na ang tawag dyan ay due process requirement for the issuance of deficiency tax assessment. Ang tinatawag po na deficiency tax assessment, ito yung findings ng examiner doon sa tax liabilities ng taxpayer upon due audit. Hindi po nag-i-issue ng assessment na walang letter authority. No, bawal po yun. Kung ano man yung findings na makikita o gagawin ng examiner, pag walang letter of authority, invalid po yun. Okay. So ano po yung itong preliminary assessment notice na tinatawag dito? So, kung pagkatapos na na-review at na-evaluate na yung kaso, no? And then may mga findings na may basis na yung taxpayer talagang kulang yung binayaran na taxes. Then the office, no, or the RDO shall issue to the taxpayer a preliminary assessment notice. Ano yung preliminary assessment notice? Informing him of the proposed assessment. No? Ito na yung notice na nandoon na may findings, may proposed, and it shall show in detail the facts. Ito yung actual, no? The rules and regulations, ito yung mga batas, or jurisprudence on which the proposed assessment is based, no? So anong basis? The facts, the law, the rules and regulations, the jurisprudence or the court decision on which the proposed assessment is based. Ito yung mga basis, no? And then the taxpayer, hindi pa rin siya sumagot, no? Within 15 days na natanggap na niya yung preliminary assessment notice, he shall be considered in default, no? In default na siya, ibig sabihin, pinabayaan niya. So in which case, a formal letter of demand and final assessment notice shall be issued calling for the payment of the taxpayer's deficiency tax liability inclusive of the applicable penalties. So kung hindi niya babayaran yon na hindi siya magpakita doon sa preliminary assessment notice, magiging final na yung assessment sa kanya, no? Kasi doon sana sa preliminary, binibigyan pa siya ng pagkakataon to explain his side, hindi pa magiging final yon. Hindi siya nagpakita, pinabayaan niya. So, gagawin ng BAR, i-finalize na yung assessment as if na totoo yung assessment. Kasi hindi naman siya na nagreklamo, hindi siya nag-dispute. If the taxpayer within 15 days from the date of the preliminary assessment notice respond. So, ito naman nag-respond, yung kanina hindi sumagot. Ito sumagot. And he disagree, yung taxpayer, hindi siya papayag na gano'n yung findings. So, the formal letter of demand and the final assessment notice shall be issued within 15 days from filing submission of the taxpayer's response, calling for payment of the taxpayer's deficiency tax liability inclusive of the applicable penalties. So, after 15 days na nag-file na yung taxpayer ng sagot, no? Magiging final na naman ulit ang final letter of demand at saka final assessment notice within 50 days, no? After na sumagot na siya. Okay. Ano po itong mga sinasabi na exception to the prior notice of the assessment? Ibig sabihin, hindi na kailangan ng notice of assessment. No? Ito yung mga instances wherein the notice of assessment is no longer required in order that the assessment would be valid. So, number one, when the findings for any deficiency tax is the result of mathematical error. Per face pa lang of the return, mali na yung computation, kulang na. No? So, hindi na kailangan ang assessment notice. Number two, when a discrepancy has been determined between the tax withheld and the amount actually remitted by the withholding agent. Ito naman sa mga withholding agent na may kulang yung kanilang remitted na amount. No? So ito dapat yung withholding pero maliit lang yung ni-remit. So, hindi na din kailangan ng assessment notice. Number 3, when the taxpayer who opted to claim a refund or tax credit of excess creditable withholding tax for a taxable period was determined to have carried over and automatically applied the same amount claimed against the estimated tax liabilities for the taxable year or quarters of the succeeding taxable year. So ano po to? Paano to nangyari? Sa oras na nagpa-file po ang taxpayer ng income tax return, no? And then meron siyang overpayment doon sa kanyang income tax return. Meron po nakalagay doon na 3 options. Ano po yung 3 options kung meron siyang overpayment? Option number 1 or box number 1, nakalagay doon na claim for refund, no? So nag-claim siya for refund. Yun yung option niya na number 1, refund. Ano ibig sabihin ng refund? Pinapa-refund niya yung pera na binayad niya doon sa tax niya. Option number 2, box number 2, ito naman yung tax credit certificate, no? So mag-apply siya ng tax credit certificate, certify ng BIR na ito yung overpayment niya, and this tax credit certificate can be used in the payment of his other tax obligation. Box number 3, ito yung third option, to be carried over to the following quarter. So in that case, kung ang overpayment mo is nilagay mo na carried over, no? And then nakita ngayon ng BIR during the assessment na meron ka pa palang dapat na bayaran, hindi na pakialaman yung carried over na yan, no? Hindi na yung papakialaman. Pero since kulang yung bayad mo, babayaran mo ngayon yung kulang. Hindi na pakialaman yung carried over kasi ginamit mo na yun on the next quarter, no? Kasi dito sa scenario na number 3 na to, dalawa ang ginawa niya, no? Nag-claim na siya ng refund or tax credit and then nag-carry over pa, no? So double claim. So bawal po yun. So in that case, automatic sisinginin sa iyo yung overpayment mo na yun na without assessment notice, no? Kasi may fraud, parang sinadya mo. Okay? Number 4, when the excise tax due on excisable articles has not been paid. Ano po yung rule natin sa excisable product? Before the release, babayaran yung excise tax, no? So hindi mo babayaran, wala na assessment notice, kailangan bayaran mo na. When an article locally purchased or imported by an exempt person such as but not limited to vehicles, capital equipment, machineries, and spare parts has been sold, traded, or transferred to a non-exempt persons. O itong nangyari, yung nag-import ng vehicle, exempt organization, exempt entities. Pagdating dito sa Pilipinas, binenta pala dun sa hindi exempt, no? So in that case, bayaran na kaagad yung tax due doon on importation. Ano yun? VAT at saka excise tax at saka yung mga customs duties, no? Kasi hindi naman siya exempt. Kasi nilipat na niya kaagad sa non-exempt persons. Ano ba yung rule natin dun sa mga tax-free na importation na yun? May approval yun ng central bank. And the moment na ibenta mo sa non-exempt, may babayaran mo na yung mga excise taxes at may certain number of years, 5 years, na hindi mo siya dapat ibenta sa non-exempt entities, no? Dapat kung sino yung nag-import dahil nga free, dapat siya ang gumamit, no? Kasi yung mga entities na gagamit ng machines na yun are exempt, kaya it carries also exemption on the payment of taxes for the importation. Pero pagdating pala dito, hindi naman pala para yun sa exempt, ginamit ng non-exempt, transfer sa kanila. Kaya, dapat bayaran na kaagad-agad yung taxes without the assessment notice, no? Okay. So, preliminary assessment notice lang yun. Pagka nakita itong mga scenarios na to, final kaagad ang assessment. Hindi na kailangan ng preliminary assessment, no? Ano naman tong formal letter of demand or the final assessment notice? No, ito yung issued by the commissioner or the director or the sa RDO, no, calling for the payment of the taxpayer deficiency tax or taxes, which shall state the facts, the law, the rules, the regulation, jurisprudence on which the assessment is based, no? Otherwise, the assessment shall be void. Yun yung sabi natin na pagka walang facts of the assessment, no, facts of the case, Tapos yung law, walang basis. Rules and regulation, wala. Jurisprudence or court decision, wala. Then, wala dapat assessment, no? Void ang assessment. Ano naman po itong disputed assessment, no? So, halimbawa, nag-protest yung taxpayer within 30 days from the date of receipt ng assessment notice, no? Ng final letter of demand and the final assessment notice. The taxpayer protesting an assessment may file a written request of reconsideration or reinvestigation defined as follows. So, dalawa yung pwede niyang i-request. Reinvestigation or reconsideration. Ano yun? Pag sinabi po natin na request for reconsideration, ito yung re-evaluation of an assessment on the basis of existing records yung nabigay na without need of an additional evidence, no? So, yung request for reconsideration, hindi na magbibigay ng additional documents. How about request for investigation? Refers to a plea of re-evaluation of an assessment on the basis of newly discovered or additional evidence that a taxpayer intends to present in the re-investigation. It may also involve question of fact or law or both. So, pag request of re-investigation, ang nire-request mo dito, buksan ulit yung libro mo at magpakita ka ng bagong mga dokumento na hindi mo pinakita ng original investigation. So, ang reconsideration, pinapare-consider mo lang yung findings without additional documents. Ang re-investigation naman, nagpapare-investigate ka uli, parang back to the beginning, no? Back to number 1. So, ano yun? Magpipresent ka ulit ng libro ng mga records mo na hindi mo na-present noong previous. Okay? So, the taxpayer, ito yung mga protested cases, no? So, the taxpayer shall state in his protest the nature of the protest, whether reconsideration or reinvestigation, specifying newly discovered or additional evidence he intends to present, no? Kung request ng reinvestigation. Or, the date of the assessment notice and the applicable law, rules, and regulations or jurisprudence on which the protest is based. So, kailangan i-state niya yon. Otherwise, yung protest niya is considered void and without force and effect. Hindi bibigyan ng force and effect yung kanyang protest. As in, wala. No? As in, hindi siya nag-protest. So, what happened to the assessment will become final and executory. Pag sinabi natin final and executory, pababayaran na sa'yo. No? Okay, so if there are several issues involved in the final letter of demand or final assessment notice, but the taxpayer, ito yung partially, hindi, tinanggap na niya yung findings, but partially dinispute niya, so anong mangyayari, no? So the undisputed issue or issues shall become final and executory at bayaran na kaagad ng taxpayer. Kasi halimbawa, yung assessment niya, 5, no, withholding, may mga penalties, tapos may VAT and income. So sa tumbay, ito yung nangyayari. Yung mga findings sa withholding, no, sa mga late filing, binabayaran na kaagad yan ng taxpayer. Kasi konti lang yan. Ano yung pinoprotest? Itong income at saka ang VAT, kasi ito yung malalaki na assessment. No? So, yung hindi niya dinispute, bayaran niya ulit. Pero, yung dinispute niya, yun yung magkakaroon ulit ng parang reinvestigation. No? Pero yung hindi niya dinispute, bayaran niya kaagad yun. No? So, if there are several issues involved in the disputed assessment, no? And then, hindi naman nasabi ng taxpayer yung facts ng case, the applicable law, rules and regulation or jurisprudence to support the protest, then some of the issues which assessment is based, the same shall be considered undisputed. Parang hindi ka nag-dispute, parang hindi ka nag-protest, no? The assessment attributable thereto shall become final and executory and demandable, no? So, baliwala yung protest mo. And the taxpayer shall be required to pay the deficiency tax or taxes attributable thereto, and collection letter shall be issued to the taxpayer calling for payment of the said deficiency tax inclusive of the applicable surcharge and or interest, no? So, talagang sisingilin na with matching penalties. Okay, ano naman itong request for investigation? Taxpayer shall submit all relevant supporting documents in support of his protest within 60 days. No? Kaya itong mga kaso that request for investigation, binibigyan niya ng mga examiner ng 60 days. Parang hindi muna pina-follow up, parang pahinga muna. But after the 60 days, pag hindi pa rin nagbigay, final na kaagad yung assessment. Okay? Relevant supporting documents refer to those documents necessary to support the legal and factual basis in disputing a tax assessment as determined by the taxpayer. No? Ano tong 60-day period ng submission of all relevant supporting documents? Kasi nag-protest ka nga eh, no? Shall not apply to request for reconsideration. Kasi yung reconsideration, di naman kailangan mag-present ng records, no? Assessment shall become final means taxpayer is barred from disputing the correctness. Kasi binigyan ka na ng time para i-dispute mo, i-challenge mo yung assessment. No? So after the time na binigay na sa'yo, after that, hindi mo na pwedeng i-question yung assessment kasi naging final na. Pwede mo siya i-question nung hindi pa siya naging final, binigyan ka ng time, hindi mo question. Ngayong final na, hindi na ka na pwede mag-question. Bayaran mo na. Kasi kahit na mag-protest ka pa, it will be consequently denied. Oh? So the taxpayer fails to file a valid protest, no, against the final letter of demand and the final assessment notice within 30 days from the date of receipt thereof. So the assessment shall become final, executory, and demandable. So, no request for a consideration or investigation shall be granted on tax assessment that have already become final, executory, and demandable. So, wala na. Wala nang request for investigation. If the protest is denied in whole or in part by the commissioner, no, taxpayer may either appeal to the Court of Tax Appeal within 30 days from date of receipt of said decision, no? So, elevate his protest through request for reconsideration to the commissioner within 30 days from date of receipt of the decision. Halimbawa naman, nag-protest siya, but then yung commissioner dinina yung kanyang protest. So, 30 days after receipt ng denial ng kanyang protest, pwede siyang pumunta sa Court of Tax Appeal. No? So, doon na siya rireklamo kasi hindi siya pinansin. No request for investigation shall be allowed in administrative appeal and only issues raised in the decision of the commissioner's duly authorized representative shall be entertained by the commissioner. No? So, ano yung mga reinvestigation? Request for investigation, ibig sabihin yung reconsideration, hindi na ino-honor pagdating ng commissioner. No? If the protest is not acted upon, ito yung hindi na acted upon, di sumagot yung commissioner within 180 days, what happened? No? In case of request for consideration or from date of submission by the taxpayer of the required documents within 60 days from the date of filing of the protest in case of request for investigation, the taxpayer, no, anong pwedeng gawin ng taxpayer? Within 180 days, hindi siya pinansin ng commissioner. Number 1, pwede siyang mag-appeal to the Court of Tax Appeal within 30 days after the expiration of the 180 days period, no? 6 months, so pang 7th month. Or await the final decision of the commissioner's duly authorized representative on the disputed assessment. O pwede rin na hintayin niya yung final decision ng commissioner. If the protest or administrative appeal, as the case may be, is denied, no, in whole or in part by the commissioner, taxpayer may appeal to the Court of Tax Appeal within 30 days from the date of the receipt of the said decision. Otherwise, the assessment shall become final, executory, and demandable. No? A motion for reconsideration of the commissioner, denial of the protest or administrative appeal, as the case may be, shall not toll the 30-day period to appeal to the city. If the protest or administrative appeal is not acted by the Commissioner within 180 days, counted from the date of filing of protest. The taxpayer may either appeal to the CTA within 30 days from after the expiration of the 180-day period, or await the final decision of the Commissioner on the disputed assessment and appeal such final decision to the CTA within 30 days after the receipt of copy of such decision. Ito yung iba natatalo sa technicalities kasi hindi pa tapos yung 30 days na doon na sila sa Court of Tax Appeal nag-a-apply na. So, ang ginagawa minsan ng Court of Tax Appeal, binabalik sila sa BIR kasi hindi pa nila na-exhaust yung administrative remedies. No? Hindi pa sila nagreklamo sa commissioner o hindi pa tapos yung period na pwede silang magreklamo sa commissioner na doon na sila sa Court of Tax Appeal. Okay. In case of inaction or protested assessment within the 180-day period, the option of the taxpayer to either file a petition for review with the CTA within 30 days after the expiration of the 180-day period, or await the final decision of the Commissioner or his duly authorized representative on the disputed assessment to the CTA within 30 days after receipt of the copy ng decision. No? Ano naman tong final decision on a disputed assessment? No? So, ito yung document that state the facts, the applicable law, rules, and regulations or jurisprudence on which such decision is based. Otherwise, decision shall be void. Walang facts, walang applicable law, walang rules and regulations, or walang jurisprudence. No? So, the decision shall be void. Ibig sabihin, walang bisa. Mode of service. Ito naman yung mode of service doon sa notice. No? Kasi, di ba, mayroon ng preliminary assessment notice. Merong final letter of demand. Merong final assessment notice. Merong final decision on disputed assessment. No? The taxpayer, paano ito siniserve sa taxpayer? Required may be served by the commissioner or his duly authorized representative through the following modes. No? So, ito yung pwede nilang gawin. Notice shall be served through personal service by delivering personally a copy thereof to the party at a registered or known address. No? So, personal talaga na ihatid niyan. And then, pwede rin na substituted service can be resorted to when the party is not present at the registered or known address under the following circumstances. No? Notice may be left at the party's registered address with his clerk or with a person having charge thereof. Oh, pwede. If the known address is a place where business activities of the party are conducted, the notice may be left with his clerk or with a person having charge thereof. If the known address is the place of residence, no, substituted service can be made by leaving the copy with a person of legal age residing therein. No? If no person is found in the party's registered or known address, the revenue officer concerned shall bring a barangay official and two disinterested witnesses to the address so that they may personally observe and attest to such absence. No? Okay. There shall then be given to the said barangay official. Facts shall be constrained in the bottom portion of the notice as well as the names, official position, and signatures of the witnesses. Okay. Should the party be found at his registered or known address or any other place but refuse to receive the notice, no? The revenue officers concerned shall bring a barangay official and two disinterested witnesses in the presence of the party so that they may personally observe and attest to such act of refusal. No? The notice shall then be given to said barangay official. Such facts shall be contained in the bottom portion of the notice as well as the names, official position, and signatures of the witnesses. No? So, disinterested witnesses refers to person of legal age other than the employees of the Bureau of Internal Revenue. So, pwede, kahit sino, no? Pwedeng disinterested witnesses. Okay. Service by email is done by sending a copy of the notice registered mailed to the registered or known address of the party with instruction to the postmaster to return the mail to the sender after 10 days na undelivered siya. Okay, so the service shall accomplish the bottom portion of the notice. No? So ito yung mode kung paano i-serve yung notice. He shall also make a written report under oath before a notary public. No? Or any person authorized to administer oath under Section 14 of the NIRC as amended, setting forth the manner, place, and date of service, the name of the person, barangay official, professional courier, service company who received the same, and such other relevant information. No? The registered receipt issued by the post office of the official or the official receipt issued by the professional courier company containing sufficiently identifiable details of the transaction shall constitute sufficiently proof of mailing and shall be attached to the case docket. Ito yung matindi dito ha. Service to the tax agent or practitioner who is appointed by the taxpayer under circumstances prescribed in the pertinent regulations on accreditation of tax agents shall be deemed service to the taxpayer. No? So yung mga nagtatago-tago, hindi makita, no? Pagka yung notice nila sinerve sa tax agent, deemed service to the taxpayer. Amendment, no? So ano yung inamend sa RR 12-99? Okay, so ito yung mode for the computation of deficiency tax assessed, no? So magkano yung delinquency interest? 12% na lang, no? So late payment of a deficiency tax assessed, no? Deficiency tax assessed shall be paid by the taxpayer within the time prescribed in the notice and demand. Otherwise, the taxpayer shall be liable for the delinquency interest incident to late payment, no? So ito yung example. Based on the above illustration, number 3, scenario 4, assuming that the calendar year 1997 deficiency income tax assessment against XYZ Corporation in the amount of 304,771.67 is not paid by June 30 of 1999. No? The deadline for the payment of the assessment, and assuming further that this assessment has already become final and collectible, in this case, such corporation shall be considered late in the payment of the said assessment. No? Assuming further that the corporation pay its tax assessment only by July 31, 1999, the delinquency interest for late payment shall be computed as follows. So for the calendar year 1997, the income tax due per investigation is 360,000. And then the income tax paid per return, 175,000. So the deficiency income tax is 175. Add 50% surcharge for filing fraudulent or false return, no? 7,500, and the 20% interest per annum from 450.98 to 731.1999. 45,000. Total amount 307,760.27. Add 20% delinquency interest from 7,199 to 731,1999. So yun na yung basic, the surcharge, the 20% interest, and then the total. The amount due excluding suggested compromise penalty for late payment. Okay, next illustration. Based on the immediately preceding illustration, assuming the calendar year 1997 deficiency income tax assessment against XYZ Corporation in the amount of 304,771.67 is not paid by June 30, 1999. The deadline for the payment of the assessment but is instead timely tested. Assuming further that after exhaustion of all administrative remedies, assessment was upheld and became final, executory, and demandable on July 1, 2000. Payment was made by the taxpayer only on June 30, 2002. So in this case, such corporation shall be considered late in payment of the said assessment, Civil penalties for late payment shall be computed as follows. So, calendar year 1997, income tax due per investigation 350,000, less income tax paid per return 175, deficiency income 175. No? Add 50% surcharge for filing fraudulent or false return. No? 175,000 times 50%. So 20% per annum, April 1598 to June 30, 2002, 175,000 times 0.841644. No? So total amount due is 409,787.70. Okay, so add 20% delinquency interest from July 2, 2002, 6/30/2002. No? So magkano na siya? 20% interest per annum, 450.98 to 7/1/2000. Total amount due excluding suggested compromise penalty for late payment. Okay, so illustration 3. Assuming that in calendar year 1997, XYZ Corporation filed a false or fraudulent return and was assessed of deficiency basic income tax amounting to 100,000. Assuming further that XYZ Corporation timely protested the said assessment. After exhaustion of all administrative remedies, the assessment was upheld and became final, executory, and demandable on April 15, 2001. No? However, payment was made by the taxpayer only on April 15, 2003. Okay. So in this case, such corporation shall be considered late in payment of the said assessment. Ito naman yung computation ng civil penalties, no? Total deficiency income tax assessment, add 50% surcharge for filing fraudulent or false return, and then 20% interest from 4/15/1998 to April 15, 2003, no? So 100,000 times 20% times 5. Okay, so delinquency interest is 20% interest per annum from April 15, 2001 to April 15 of 2003. So, how much is the basic tax? 100,000. So, surcharge 50,000. Interest, 20% interest per annum, 60,000. So, our total, 210,000. So, 210,000 times 20% times 2 equals 84,000. This is the total amount due as of April 15, 2003. Any rules and regulations or parts thereof inconsistent with the provisions of these regulations are hereby repealed, amended, or modified accordingly. No? So, yun po yung rules and regulations noong 18-2013. No? So, na-repeal na siya. Ito naman yung annexes natin. Kasi di ba sabi natin, pagka yung assessment mo, hindi dumaan dun sa due process, null and void. So, more or less, makita niyo yung assessment, ganito po ang itsura. No? Ito yung Annex A natin, preliminary assessment notice, no? Pangalan ng company, address, and then the TIN. No? So, ano sa nasabi dito? Gentlemen, please be informed that after investigation, there had been found due from you deficiency income tax for calendar year 1997 as shown here under, no? So we have assessment number, taxable income per return 1 million, add discrepancies per investigation, undeclared rental income 200,000, non-deductible interest expense 300,000, undocumented representation expenses 150,000, and non-deductible bad debts expense of 250,000. How much is the total? 900,000. How much is the taxable income per investigation? 1,900,000. Okay, so income tax due 35%, 665,000. Less income tax paid per return 350,000. So how much is the balance? 315,000. So add 50% surcharge for filing of fraudulent return, 20% interest per annum from April 15, 1996 to March 15, 1998. Total amount due. No? Please note that the interest and the total amount due will have to be adjusted if paid beyond March 15, 1998. So 50% surcharge has been imposed pursuant to Section 248B of the National Internal Revenue Code. In view of the failure to report for income tax pursuant purposes, your aforementioned rental income, such omission renders your income tax return filed for the taxable calendar year 1997 as a false or fraudulent return. So 20% interest per annum has been imposed pursuant to the provision of sections 249B of the said code. Okay, so ano naman tong details of discrepancy? The details of discrepancy, ito po yung explanation natin tungkol sa assessment, no? So undeclared rental income 200,000, no? So may narrative explanation ka, no? Non-deductible interest expense 300,000. Ano tong non-deductible interest expense? Subject na to sa final tax. Undocumented representation expenses 50,000, no? Verification disclosed that this item of deduction from your gross income for the tax year 1997 is in fact unsubstantiated with any documentary evidence, hence disallowed in audit, no? And then we have non-deductible budget expense, no? 250,000. Verification disclosed that this item of deduction from your gross income for the tax year 1997 was in fact a mere provision for estimated uncollectible accounts from your customers and as of the end of the said year, no? Ito yung mga non-deductible budget expense. Ano yung requirements, no? That the debts due from your debtor or debtors must have been ascertained actually worth less as of the end of the taxable year. That the same have been actually charged or written off in your books of accounts as of the end of the said taxable year, and that the said account receivable have actually been charged off or written off the books of accounts as of the end of the taxable year. Ito naman yung formal letter of demand, Annex B, no? So, ABC Corporation, address niya sa Makati, 1000. Please be informed that after investigation, there has been found due from your deficiency income tax for calendar year 1997 as follows, no? So, assessment. My assessment number, no? So we have taxable income per return, so less yung mga discrepancies, equals taxable income per investigation, no? So income tax due 35%, 665,000, less income tax paid 332. So balance is 315,000, and then we impose the interest. So total amount due is 535,500. How about this complete details covering the discrepancy? 50% surcharge has been imposed pursuant to the provision of sections 24B, 248B of the National Internal Revenue Code as amended by Republic Act number 8424. In view of your failure to report for income tax purposes your aforementioned rental income, such omission renders your income tax return filed for the taxable calendar year 1997 as a false or fraudulent return. Okay, so ABC Corporation, address, and then the TIN, no? Details of discrepancies, assessment number, undeclared rental income 200,000. Non-deductible interest expense, 300,000. Undocumented representation expense, 50,000. No? So, ano yung mga basis niya dyan? Mahahaba yan. Verification, disclose that this item of deduction from your gross income for the tax year 1997 is in fact unsubstantiated with any documentary evidence, hence disallowed in audit. Provision for estimated uncollectible accounts is not allowable deduction from gross income. That the shown debts from your debtor or debtors must have been ascertained actually worthless as of the end of the taxable year. No, ito yung mga uncollectible accounts. And that the same have been actually charged or written off in your books of accounts as of the end of the said taxation. That the said accounts receivable have actually been charged off or written off the books of accounts as of the end of the taxable year. No? Okay, so yun po yung mga provisions natin, no? Dito sa letter, na kaya natin pinoprove that there is really a due process. So, final decision on disputed assessment or FDDA, no? Meron na tayong referring to your letter dated May 15, 1999, no? And then the undeclared rental income 200,000, undocumented representation expense 150,000, non-deductible bad debt 250,000. Uncollectible accounts is not deductible from gross income. No? To be deductible, two requisites must be present. So what are the two requisites to be deductible? That the debts due from your debtor's account receivable have been ascertained actually worthless as of the end of the taxable year. That the said accounts receivable have been actually been charged off or written off the books of accounts as of the end of the taxable year. No? Okay. So the records of this case disclose that you have not introduced any evidence to overflow the validity of our said findings. So yun po yung mga examples natin doon sa mga notices na ipapadala sa atin after investigation ng letter authority. Sabi natin yung 18-2013 na yun na RR, it amends some of the provisions po ng 12-99, no? So itong provision naman ng 2018, inamend naman siya ngayon. Yung 18-2013, inamend naman siya ngayon ng 7-2018. At ano po yung inamend ng 7-2018 doon sa 18-2013, no? So it is hereby amended by adding section 3.1.1, providing for the preparation of notice of informal conference, thereby renumbering other provisions thereof. No? So, ano yung binalik niya? The notice of informal conference. No? Originally, doon sa 12-1999, there is a requirement for the notice of informal conference. Pagdating ng 18-2013, tinanggal. No? Yung notice of informal conference. Pagdating naman ng ngayon sa RR 7-2018, binalik na naman yung notice of informal conference, no? Okay, so yun po yung nangyayari. So ngayon, meron na ulit na notice of informal conference. Okay, so ano yung mga proseso po natin pag nakatanggap tayo ng letter of authority? Within the given number of days, dapat nagprotesta po na tayo. Otherwise, magiging final and executory po yung assessment. No? So, with that, I hope that we have brought to you the topic on this due process in tax audit. No? So, please stay tuned to our tax training, and we promise to give you more updates in taxation, no? For those our YouTubers na hindi pa po nag-subscribe, please subscribe to our channel, and we promise to bring you more tax updates. Thank you and good day.